So, yeah. Hi, John. We got John here today. So just before we get started, as always, would like to introduce myself and what this show, Empowering Matters, is all about. My name is Niekia Botham. I'm actually coming to you from the west coast of Canada in British Columbia. And so what our Empowering Matters show is all about is, this kind of has a couple of different meanings, right? So I believe that it matters to empower ourselves with conversations that are important about events that are happening in the world. And it's also about empowering topics and matters that are important, right? So a little bit of a double meaning there. And so I chose to interview my good friend John Bolenbaugh today. So for anyone who doesn't know John, he lives in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I'm going to invite him to share a little bit more about his story here, of course, but I'll just open up by letting you know that what he is, the Big Oil Whistleblower from Michigan, known as probably the biggest whistleblower in America. And it all started when there was an oil spill in his backyard. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. He recently visited the Iowa oil spill, so we'll talk a little bit about that. And of course, for anyone who has tuned into my show before, you know that we're always going to finish and navigate towards the solutions that we can present and explore together as a community and in the world to create the future that we do wish to see. And really, I think that these conversations are all about empowering ourselves and each other with the necessary actions that can move us forward in as a community and in the world. So John, thank you so much for taking time with us today. I know John's actually moving this weekend, so he's got a lot going on. Thank you so much for being with us and taking some time. So let's just start by share a little bit with us about how you made the decision to become a whistleblower, a little bit about your background in the oil industry, and how you came to pursue this career.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Niekia, I didn't want to do this. It's ruined my family. We don't have family get-togethers anymore. Right now, my whole family is having a great dinner and 4th of July party, and I'm not there. And the reason why is because they all work for Big Oil, and I'm against the pollution of oil. I'm not against oil. I drive a car like everybody else, and I have a big RV. But the secrets that I've learned, the cover-ups I've seen, what I've investigated, and hundreds of people I've interviewed, including workers, that say that these pipelines leak every day. There's little pinholes in them, and they're going into your wells, and the oil companies don't care because the people at the very, very top also own the pharmaceutical companies and also own the hospitals. They own the bottled water companies. And so they don't care if they poison you or if the water's polluted, because then they can sell you a filtration system or a bottle of water. And so I'll try to shorten this up a little bit. We only have an hour, but I actually used to work for oil companies as a head supervisor and a normal cleanup worker. I was, just a union guy in my hometown, and the biggest spill in inland history happened in my backyard pretty much. And it was actually 20 miles away, but it was in my backyard because the oil went down the river and it killed 40 miles of fish. And started cleaning it up, and they appointed me as a head supervisor. Then I, just started seeing a cover-up, and the cover-up was massive. I mean, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of thousands of gallons that they were putting dirt and sand with grass seed over the top of it. And the grass actually is modified to grow in oil. It's hard to believe, but it does. And we're talking about 40 miles on both sides of the river in the swamps that was just contaminated. And it went all the way to Lake Michigan. They're lying to everybody when they say that it didn't. And so I started, videotaping it with my cell phone. And it was just a BlackBerry camera. Didn't have very good footage, but I didn't really know I was going to make a documentary in the future. And all of a sudden, they threatened to fire me because I posted a few videos on Facebook. And I told them, go ahead and fire me. I said, I'll tell everybody about all the cover up. And so they kept me on for a few more weeks. And finally, I got sick of it. And I said, I just went to the EPA. I'm going to the EPA again. I'm going to the news. And the next morning, I got fired. They tried to say I spilled gasoline at first. They testified under oath that they made that story up because they didn't want to tell the truth. And under oath, they said that the reason why they fired me was because I reported an oil cover-up to the media that made Enbridge's reputation look bad, unquote. And so now I just travel around the country documenting different oil spills because I see what's going on. I see the big picture. And I just went to Iowa, and it's nasty. It's horrible. And the police are hired. Even the police said that they're hired to keep me out. A mile away from the spill, they didn't want me around. Even though residents are 100 feet from the spill and they're being poisoned. They don't want anybody to know the truth, that it's not contaminated, that it's going in the Missouri River, that it polluted all the farmland within 15 miles of that area, that 400 cows passed away, you know, and these are all the stories that people are telling me from Iowa. You know, these are their words. And I had my drone up, and I actually got a lot of evidence that there was a lot more oil that spilled than what they're saying, because there's a lot more tankers that are cracked open than what they're admitting. And they don't want anybody to have that footage because the news just does whatever they're told. And so I'm trying to be that news station that tells the truth. I've been to the Yellowstone spill. I've been to Chicago. I've been to the Gulf, Arkansas spill. It's the same thing in every spill. Water contamination. They lie about the air sample test. They lie about how toxic it is, and it causes leukemia and cancer, liver damage, kidney damage, and so on. We have 7 kids with leukemia right now in our local school. So I'm just trying to prevent these things from, you know, I don't want these things to happen to these kids and these new oil spills. And because the oil companies will never tell you what chemicals are in it. And they won't even tell you that some of the chemicals won't even cause sickness for over a year. You won't even know you're sick for a year. And it's right in their documents.
Right. So I know, John, that you made this decision because you realized that, you know, like you've touched on, that there was a lot of things that weren't true that the companies were saying. And also that you've touched on it now, that there was a lot of sickness that was coming to your backyard, and the consequences of having oil in the water and the air, and what that meant for the residents there. And so I know when you just went down to Iowa that I believe what as I understand it, is it's actually an area where a lot of people support the continuation of developing the oil industry. And now the people who have just had this oil spilled in their backyard, there's of course a huge shift, and now there's a lot of concern. So do you want to just elaborate on that, maybe some of the people that you spoke with while you were down there? And I guess the reason why this is really important to me to touch on is because it really shows the importance of the work you're doing, and also the fact that people just want to go on with business as usual until it's in their backyard. So just touch a little bit on that.
Well, the crazy thing is that a lot of them don't know about any other oil spills. They just know that there was oil that is across the street from them and in their backyard. And this is the crazy thing. You know, one lady, she said, well, they wouldn't lie to me, you know, and I'm like, you're here 3 days after the spill. Obviously, they're lying to you, you know, but they don't understand the logic that these chemicals that are in this causes cancer, leukemia, and stuff. They don't know that when you breathe this toxic, when you smell the oil, you're breathing in benzene, you're breathing in toluene, you're breathing in hydrogen sulfide. Your body's being poisoned as we speak. And she's breathing this stuff in. And I mean, it was hard to be down there. And they're down there 3 days after the spill every day. The reason why this is so, how I prove all this is in Michigan, we had the same exact oil. And that oil was so toxic 13 miles away that they evacuated a trailer park 10 days after the spill. 10 days. They didn't evacuate them for the first 10 days because they lied about the air sample tests and got caught. When they finally got caught, they evacuated people. But remember, that's 10 days after the spill, 15 miles away from where the spill happened, and the oil went through the river next to their house. So what happens when you have this spill right next to their house? They're being poisoned. There's kids there. There was grandkids there, and I was sick to my stomach, and people just don't believe what I'm saying. So I've had a few people now that didn't believe me contact me after they saw my documentary, and they've apologized, and they said that they're sorry, and they've evacuated their families because they were lied to by the oil companies. And so it's, we have this misconception that this oil, a lot of the oil that's flowing through these pipes now is conventional oil that goes through our cars. It's not the same oil. Tar sand oil from Canada and North Dakota is way more toxic. It's 82% more toxic before you actually refine it, before you even pull it out of the ground. And then once you put, it's like peanut butter. And when you put all these chemicals in it, it makes it about, it's like 1,000 times the potency of what your conventional oil is. So you think of conventional oil, that's what you're thinking of. And that's the issue. People don't know. They're not educated. They don't understand that it's additives that's put in it to thin it out that actually is poisoning everybody. They're having a cyanide pipeline put next to their yard, you know, at a lot of places, or in your state. Line 3 right now is just approved in Minnesota. We're going to have another Standing Rock up there real soon. And people need to understand that you have a cyanide pipeline, 500-600 of them flowing through all of our states. They're everywhere. And they are so toxic if you drink one shot glass. If I drink this much of that, I would kill a whole family. If everybody took a little shot of this in my entire family, if this was tar sand oil, we would all pass away within 5 minutes. We would all die. That's how toxic it is. And we're letting people put this next to the houses. And so people just don't know. They don't understand that I'm the good guy. And the police are there to kick me out. And the residents are saying, go away. And now a lot of them are saying, thank you. You know, we've had 20,000 people now recently see our actual, you know, little film that I did about Iowa. We have part 1 and part 2. I hope you see both of them.
Right. So, you know, I'm hearing several different things here. It's definitely a huge education process for everyone about what the actual is and the actual oil is and how toxic it can be. Should it escape from these pipelines or there be a spill like we just saw down in Iowa? So like John said, he's not saying he's completely against oil, but he wants to see it done responsibly. And he also wants to see people see these companies be held responsible for when there is a spill or there is damage to the public. And so that's really the mission he's on, and to educate people on both of those things and the risks with continuing to pursue oil to pursue continuing to try to expand how we're moving this product around. So lots of different things there. So John, you have an organization called helpa.org. Tell us a little bit about that organization and why you started it.
Well, I actually started, the name popped in my head, Stairway to a Better World, helpa.org, which stands for Honor, Environment, Love, People, Protect All. And just popped in my head about 4 years before the spill, and I'm not sure why God put it there, but now I know. And one thing I wanted to touch on that I kind of missed is the residents of Arkansas when I went down there. They all thought that, again, I was the bad guy until they were educated. And then when they got, you know, this bill basically for $72 million that the taxpayers paid for an oil spill that Exxon did in Arkansas, they were like, whoa, wait a minute. But that's the way it works. Tar sand oil does not have any fund to clean it up. There is no backdoor fund. The insurance policy pays for most of it, and the taxpayers pay for a lot. The taxpayers in Michigan paid tens of millions of dollars, and in Arkansas, 72 million. And in Iowa, they're going to pay tens of millions of dollars. The taxpayers are going to pay that, not the oil company. The oil companies don't pay anything out of their pocket. The taxpayers pay it, and the insurance companies pay it. And so they don't even care if there's a spill. They should have never had that train going over that track with water going over it but they don't care. They don't care if it spills because they're trying to push pipelines. And if they can actually get people to not want to put railways with tar sands going through it, then that helps them in their goal of putting these pipelines in. It helps them get people to say, well, wait, we don't want trains, we want pipelines. And that's not true. 50% of all the oil that we're even talking about is sent to China or foreign export. It's not for you. It's not for me. It's not for any of us. It doesn't heat our car. It's not for my vehicle. It's not for us. We're poisoning our water, our air, and our land for other countries. And when we keep talking about America, 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 I'm very okay with us selling oil, but I'm not okay with us poisoning our kids and our grandkids to make that profit.
Right. And so I just want to give everyone a little bit of a history on how I got connected with John. I discovered, I came across one of his videos. I saw what he was up to in the world. And for those of you who aren't aware about what I do, I work with solar. I'm partnered with a company called Power. And I saw the work that John was doing, saw how he was working to educate people on the consequences of continuing down this path of putting fossil fuels first before our health and the health of ourselves as well as the health of the planet. And I remembered when I saw what he was doing, I just want to give you a little bit of a history. Like for myself, I remember being exposed to the first time for different things that are happening in the world, you know, the different things about the pharmaceutical industry and different ways that our planet's being polluted and different ways that big corporations are running our planet. And I remember really, you know, how our food is, you know, genetically modified food and all of these different things, all these different points of awareness in my life. And I remember how I felt when I first became aware of these issues. And it was always, it was always a negative feeling. It was a feeling of feeling powerless. It was, you know, of maybe fear, just anger, and a lot of negative feelings. And what I've decided to do with my life since then is really to try to find solutions for these things and not to just be always fighting against something, but to find something to stand for and to be a part of with the solution. So that's how I actually approached John and said, you know, I'm part of a company that's on a mission to accelerate the adoption of renewable energy so that we are able to decrease our dependence on these fossil fuels. And how brilliant would it be for you to be able to, you know, continue doing what you're doing and educate the people. It's really, really important. But how brilliant would it be for you to be able to also provide them with a solution so that someone that says, you know, well, I need oil. I have to, you know, this is how I get my electricity. This is how I run my car. I need oil. You know, a lot of people have, their families are involved in the industry and, you know, it's what puts food on their table, and they feel that there's no other way to, you know, there's no other industry that will ever be able to support their family like oil does. And so there's all these different things that can come up for people when they're confronted with the truth, and it can make it really difficult. So you said, you know, let's start showing people the solution in addition to the education. And that solution that we really focus on is solar. So John, maybe just before I go a little bit further into that, I know you remember the first time I called you up to explore this possibility to work together and to take this positive message to people. How did how did the phone call from myself come across to you? And you know, ultimately, what was it that made you that caused you to make the decision to partner with us and Power and our mission to accelerate the adoption of renewable energy?
Well, at first I was like, you know, after I listened to you for 15 minutes, I was like, wow, this is perfect. I can't imagine a better company. I had to actually investigate first and find out if Power was legit and ethical and honest. And so I went and you actually got me hooked up with Jim, the owner of the company, or excuse me, the co-owner and president. And I went, gave a speech, 500 people, standing ovation. It was amazing. I'm in tears. My wife's in tears. Everybody's in tears. And it's because we all see, this is a solution to these issues, to these problems. And after I did my investigation and found out Power is probably one of the most legit ethical companies I've ever even seen in my life, I wanted to be a part of it. And I started telling my friends and family, and now I have a team, and I'm trying to grow that team. And the goal is that we get tens of thousands, if not millions, of homes that have solar on. And it's so easy for me because I travel around and I tell people about contamination and what's going on with our water. And this actually is a way that people can do this with no money down. That's what I love about this. You don't need 30, 40 grand to put solar on your home. All you actually need is just a good credit score or home equity in your home. If you have those two things and you have a job, you can get a 30% tax deduction on your when you file taxes for federal. And so it just makes sense to take your electric bill from $150 down to $110. So you're saving $40 a month. It's not a lot, but it's $40 a month. But then next year it's going to be $50 a month, and the year after $60 a month, and then $75 a month, and then $90 a month. And every month you're going to save more money because electric bills always go up. They never go down. It's never in history happened. They've never went down. They always go up 4 to 5%. And in Florida, they went up 24%, that's the new law, is 24% in the next 3 years, because they have cheap energy down there, and they're right now trying to jack it up. And so solar right now is the time to put solar on. You have the best opportunities when you can save money. You have, it's cheap, it's 95% less than what it was 10 years ago. And we're in 40 states right now. I mean, we weren't in Michigan, 6 months ago, and now we are. And we're growing so fast. We're about ready to start in West Virginia and many of the states that have really pushed against, because West Virginia is like, they roll into coal, real big into it, and they don't want to move towards solar. And so if we can show them that we're going to give them 3 times more jobs, and you're going to make more money, and you put food on your table, and then instead of paying your electric bill to these rich people, now you keep your money. And this is the biggest thing. This is what I love the most, is once you have solar on your home, you can buy an electric car. And most people can't afford a $500-$600 car payment. Well, guess what? Now you're not buying gasoline. So you're not spending $300 to $400 a month on gasoline. So you take that money, put it towards your electric car payment. Now you're paying $200 a month for a brand new electric car. And now we're not using all that oil. On top of that, you can drive that electric car for 750,000 to 1 million miles instead of 150 to 250,000 miles. So you get 3 times more out of your car than what you would a conventional car that we're normal to. And so it's going to change the way we do things, and businesses can write off their systems in 6 to 8 years. And why not? Like, I just was talking to somebody about a system. They're paying $1,200 a month for their energy bill. We can put solar on their home for $800 a month, or on their business, excuse me, and they're saving $400 a month. Why wouldn't you switch over and own your system in 15, 20 years and not have any bill after that? It's just, and there's only a 1% failure rate. A lot of people ask me that. Well, they can break down, or you have a storm. You have homeowners insurance, which will cover all that. And if a panel goes bad, you have a 25-year warranty. And like I said, it's 1% failure rate, which is there is nothing lower than 1%. I mean, that's just amazing.
Right. So just kind of to summarize too, what John has been saying, and I love how you circled it back, because I know that at the end of the day, it's the core reason of why you decided to pursue this conversation. But really where we're at, this is all about education, and it's really what this show is about. And this is all about education about how we're currently powering our country, and powering our homes, and powering our cars, and the pocket. So, something you briefly touched on is, all of this is costing us money every single month. And where is that money that we're spending every month going? And we have to remember that we're out there fighting, like many people are fighting a system fighting to make things right, fighting for our health. And at the same time, we're spending money every single month that's going into the pockets of the exact, industries that we're trying to hold accountable. And what we have here is an option, and we have a choice to take control of how our energy is being generated, and also where those dollars are going. And when you convert to solar, you're actually converting to spending your money into an asset on your home, opposed to residually paying into the pockets of organizations that you might actually not be aligned with. So that's very, very powerful. And then John bringing it back, the power of the future. And this is like, hold this vision with us, guys, this beautiful future that we all wanted to see, of where we truly are phasing out fossil fuels, protecting our water, and creating this future where we can get around in life. We can power our homes. We don't actually need to disrupt the way we're living anymore by going solar. You just use the exact same appliances that you're using every month anyways. We're just going to shift on how you're actually generating that energy. And then we're going to be powering our vehicles with the sun in the future as well. And then we won't have to put our water and our children's health at risk. So it's really just a well-rounded conversation. And it's just so awesome to hear John now, sharing. I've seen a shift in John. I really think that there is a huge value, and this is what I talked about, John, in the beginning, is just, it can be very depleting to just always be focusing on something negative and feeling like you're fighting against something. And it can be very empowering and very liberating to find something positive to focus on, as well as surrounding yourself with like-minded people and a community that's on a mission to create, to link arms. We're all here to link arms together and to take the steps that we do actually have the power to take. We can continue to take those steps to create that future that we wish to see. And we don't need to just remain complacent and just give up and throw in the towel and say, this is how it is, and, just let things play out. We all are here, I believe, we're definitely here with a choice, and I believe we're all here with a purpose to take a stand and to make choices that will make the future a better place. So I guess with all that being said, I just really wanted everyone to meet John today, to hear a little bit more about him, the mission he's on, and to remind everyone that we do have choice. We are more empowered than most people realize. And John, do you have anything you want to add to that before we wrap up?
Yeah, I want to thank you, Niekia. You have changed my life. You have changed my family's life. My kids can now have a better life because of you picking up that phone and calling me. And it wasn't immediate. It took me time. But solar is the way of the future. Uber is the largest taxi company in the world, and they do not own a taxi. $50 billion company in a very short period of time. We are going to be the largest renewable energy company in the world, and we're right on our way there. We're doubling every 6 months pretty much. And we have 100 different companies right now, and we're going to have 200 and 300, and we're moving over to different countries. This is international, where we actually can, through a phone call, get an electric bill from somebody. That's the hardest part about this entire thing, is just making a friendly conversation and getting an electric bill. That's the hardest part. We're not selling anything. We are actually trying to save them money on their electric bill. And because they don't like salesmen. I've been a salesman before, and I know for a fact they hate salesmen. And so the way I got in when I sold energy efficient windows is I let them see my family. I talked about my kids. I talked about the oil spill. I didn't try to sell them, but the window I had sold itself. Solar sells itself. It's so logical. Why would you not want to save money if it's nothing down, nothing out of your pocket? And I really believe this is the way of the future. I want to thank you, Niekia, for bringing me to power. And my kids, when they go to college, part of that reason is going to be because of you.
Well, thanks for showing up today, John. And for everyone that's watching, Sandy, maybe if you can drop the link in the comments below as well for freedomfromfossilfuels.com.
I lost you. I don't know if you're still there, Niekia. Love all of you if we broke up. I don't know if anybody's on here still, but I just want to say I love all of you. I think they had a little glitch. And so what I was talking about with college and stuff is we actually can get a referral fee by just helping somebody go solar. And I think it's amazing that we actually can get an income by helping people and helping the world and making the environment a better place and keeping our water clean. So I love all of you, and God bless you.